Hey, beautiful women of light. It's Wednesday Wisdom, and we are here with the gorgeous Candida, who we have never met. This is another one of those online meetings. I've seen Candida's beautiful posts online and her videos, and we thought, what a beautiful expression to put onto our Women of Light Movement Facebook page or group. So welcome, Candida.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's I love Wednesday Wisdom because I get to experience some of the ladies that are in this community and what they're doing to express themselves as women of light. So just as a side note, if anyone is interested in having an interview or playing around and having a chat with me on a Wednesday, then drop in a PM and we can slot you in, because I love experiencing who we've got in the community and what they're doing. So Candida, you are actually, I don't even know what you do. What is it that I know that we're talking about health and stress. What is it that your professional name is?
Okay, so when I get asked that question, it's a bit of a story. My business name is At Ease Candid Health, and that I feel encapsulates the importance of being at ease in life and being true to oneself. But I'm a multi-modality therapist. I think that's the best way to describe it. So
I love that. Sounds good.
Yeah, because one thing has always led to another, but it's always been in connection with the same essence, if that makes sense. And so, I started off many years ago, like 30 years ago, with massage. Then I got a teaching degree and began teaching health and wellness within schools. I did a lot of work within schools. Health and wellness in combination with stress management was always around the stress issue, stress management. It was in the early 90s, so you couldn't really say meditation or spiritual stuff of anything. It was a bit woo-woo at that time.
Yeah. And you couldn't even find a spiritual book around those days, because that's when I started. Even later in the mid 90s. There was no spiritual bookshops or books in normal bookshops either. Like anything alternative was seen, was completely taboo. So,
we were fortunate in Adelaide that we had this wonderful bookstore, huge, called Cosmic Pages.
Oh, wow.
I loved inhabiting that shop.
Yeah.
Getting back to things that I do, so I did a lot of work in schools around yoga and meditation with children, teachers, principals. In my private business, I worked in schools as well. I became a Reiki master teacher, so I did a lot of teaching in that, still do. I run spiritual retreats overseas and in Adelaide. Bit of a slow on that, or stop on that at the moment. But I'm a advanced theta healer, DNA. I'm a hypnotherapist, and my latest thing is spiritual life coach.
Oh, I love it.
So they all sort of fit together, and they were very it grew as I grew from all those, like 30 years ago, for example, in schools. I'm no longer in the schools, but it sort of grew to what it is now.
Yeah, and spiritual life coach, I really like that, because you hear life coach sort of thrown around a lot. Yeah. So to encapsulate it into the spiritual essences sounds beautiful.
Yeah, because I don't think you can. Well, to me, my belief is you can't separate it.
No,
and it's just not separate. You can look at it separately.
Yeah,
but it's not separate.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, but today we're actually talking about health and stress, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what's your take on the fact that, they are interrelated, right?
Okay, so that piece of information, if you like, struck me with my work in the schools. So I was working in schools since the maybe perhaps mid to early 80s. And I saw what was happening to teachers and children. and it was all stress related. I mean, there were other factors about what happens in the home, but that was stress related too. So I could always bring it down to that. And the particular school I was in when I first started bringing this, I was actually asked by the principal of that school, amazing that someone, because this was in the late 80s, amazing that someone in those times would be open, that he knew that I was into meditation and calm and all of that kind of stuff. And he said, could I do something for the kids? Because it was a very low socioeconomic school with a lot of issues, health issues for children, family issues, there were drugs things, there was a lot of behaviour, and he was at a loss as to what to do. So that's where my start in the school happened, when he asked me to do that for the children. And so in my lunch break, at lunchtime, we had like certain targeted students that most needed it, and I would run meditation for them during that time, and it made a huge difference to them. And when they went back to class after lunch in the afternoon, and a difference to the teachers. And from there, he asked me to run an anger management group for boys. In the meantime,
something that should be in all schools, right? Like
so much.
Yeah.
So much. And anyway, so then trying to make this short, the school eventually closed. It was pretty sad because those kids that benefited, I knew were not going to anymore, but I prayed and hoped that the seed that had been planted would be with them for if and when they needed it. So anyway, this was a small school. I moved to a very large school that had reception from year 12. So it had like over 1,000 students. This small school only had like 500-600. So then I approached the principal there and said, look, this is what I've been doing. And that wasn't my job at the school. So I was going to be doing this stuff as part of my own business as such after school. And he allowed me to do that. And so then from then it grew. And I could see in that large school, teachers were literally my friends were dying from cancer. Like 3 of them in a short period of time developed cancer and died. One was a close friend. Another one, they were all friends really, but one was particularly, I was with her right until the end. And I used to go to her home and to the hospital right until the end. And I felt I could clearly see the effects of the stress, because I'm having people that don't work in a school. I mean, I'm using school. I mean, it's everywhere, but I'm using school because that's where I was. And people that don't work in schools think, they get holidays, they finish at 3:30, and what's the problem?
Yeah, I know a few teachers, so I know that's a lot of crap.
And I used to think, but I didn't. I used to think similarly before I worked in a school.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, so what can I do? And that's when I started to develop all these programs. And then as I got more into the study and the research and the personal experience, I could see so much how our thoughts, that now what I say a lot now is that every thought that we think, our cells in every cell in our body responds to every single thought that we think. If that's of a negative nature, every cell will contract. If it's of a positive nature, every cell will expand. Now, if you can imagine that if you think, I feel really shitty today, blah, 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 and all your cells, you're going to go like that, what's going to happen on the inside? Now, we're built to cope, but however, we're not built to cope for years and years in that contracted state.
No. And what makes me think, what I think of is that in that state, we're more likely also to be eating, like the vicious cycle of, I'm not feeling good, so I want to eat something crappy and I want to comfort food myself. And so when, if you're not thinking, just the perpetual cycle of the whole thing, right?
Absolutely. It just gathers momentum and it spirals out of control. Then it starts to affect people in your life because your behaviours change, your moods. You can't be as loving if you're not being as loving to yourself, and caring that you cannot be that for others. And so it's become sort of my mantra in my life. I don't know, I was going to say life mission, I don't know, but it's always been the focus of everything I've done, even before I even realised it. I mean, I did see what was happening in the schools, but that was 30 years ago, and I'm way different than what I am now. So I probably saw it a bit compared to now. And it's a thing that has grown with me, the understanding of, and so do you want me to talk about how messages from the heart came into that?
Yeah, that would be great.
So with the COVID thing that we're experiencing,
just as a side note, what is messages from the heart? That's a
sure
thing that you're doing at the moment, right? Just to give that bridge. Yeah,
I should clarify that. Get ahead of myself. So messages from the heart is a video. Well, they're videos that I do. I don't know what else to call them. They're videos that I do, which began. So I've now got a Facebook group called Messages from the Heart, and the videos that I do are all messages from the heart. So whatever I say in those videos are messages from my heart, but the messages that I get into my heart, I share. So in last year, 2020, the beginning, when we had all the lockdowns and it was just like horrendous stuff was happening all over the world, and really bad stuff in Italy at the time. And I'm Italian and I've got family in Italy, and it just, my heart was there, what can I do? And I could see that so many people were doing so much. They were making masks, they were doing all sorts of things. And I thought, what is it that I can do?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, you've got a lot of information that you can share about health and wellness. I was terrified about the video thing, terrified, absolutely. And one of the things that I do is I walk on the beach a lot, all the time. And one of these days, and during the COVID thing, I was lucky enough to be able to, I live close to the beach, so I was able to go for my beach walk. And I just thought, you know what, Candida, press the button. Whatever happens, happens. If it's not okay, don't post it, right?
Yeah.
And so I just started doing that. But previous to that, I thought, because I'm very connected to my guidance, my inner wisdom and my spiritual guidance. So I asked, what is it? And my soul, it's a lot about my soul connection. So I thought, what is it you want me to do? What will I call this thing? What is it? And I got clearly where they're messages from your heart. So call it that.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, what message would you like me to say? And then I got the importance of, at the time, the immune system was important. That information was shared about the immune system, what people do. Yeah. You know, and so that's all.
Still now, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But the stress, so going back to the stress factor and health and wellness, the stress that the world was under at the time, it actually makes me really emotional and, you know, we still are, just in different ways. But it was very condensed at the time, wasn't it? That stress thing. I thought people need to know that they're not disempowered by this. They're not victims to this. They can, you know, we have the capability. We just have to know how. Yeah. And so I started sharing little messages about how the sympathetic nervous system works, how the parasympathetic nerve, how that's connected with the breathing, how without the breathing it's not going to happen, and about the thoughts, how thoughts are things, how we create our reality. But I would just share little brief 10-minute things, and I would actually show a breathing technique. So it could be alternate nostril breathing, it could be connecting with the heart breathing. Lately I've been talking about the vagus nerve and its connection to the, again, with the stress
nervous system. Yeah,
and with it's the switch between stress and repair.
Yeah.
You know, in our nervous system. So that's how I've sort of been guided to get this thing that seems so important. But it's talked about a lot now, but I just don't think enough people get it enough.
No, and sometimes people have to hear things several times in several different ways for it to drop in, right?
Yeah, human nature, and you have to be ready to receive it. You know, you may not be able to receive that thing, you know. So I just feel it's very much a part of me, this whatever it is that I'm doing with this sharing of the messages from the heart in relation to stress, health, wellness, and how that we are more powerful than we realise.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And so you've got a Facebook group that you run called Messages from the Heart.
I do.
Awesome. So when once we've finished, we can put the links in underneath so that everyone can get in contact with you. And How do you work with people if they want to work one-on-one, or do you do groups? How do you work if people wanted to actually work with you?
Absolutely. I do have a client base that I work with. Now, people come to me, like with all those other modalities that I do, I actually combine those. I actually do a little bit of channeling as well. That's a relatively new thing that's happened, which actually really helps people to connect. I connect with their higher self, so it gives them guidance through that connection. And yes, I work through hypnotherapy as well, but it's always with my guidance and with these other things that I've said. I also do groups, as in workshops. I did one at the beginning of the year about getting into this new way of being, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I do all of those things one-on-one.
Yeah.
I have people.
So someone can get in contact with you, private message, and maybe just have a chat and find out what's going on, so that
and we can and we can do it this way too. As a Zoom way, like.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Lovely to chat with you, Candida. It was beautiful, and what a beautiful gift for you doing that. Messages from the heart. Right now it's I'm finding the same, giving as much as possible so that we can be sharing, just to help people as they wake up and support them through their journey. So well done for to be part of that process.
My pleasure. And it helps me, like it's part of my growth as well, to be, we can't do it without each other.
Yeah, so absolutely.
It's never one thing, never a one
way. Yeah. It's something, it's not an intellectual learning, it's a constant growing, isn't it,
It's an evolution, and absolutely a soul evolution, soul expression. That's what I've been doing a lot these days. It's about the soul expression. But that can only happen through evolution and experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So true. And that's what's happening at the moment, isn't it? This total expansion that's happening, it's very exciting time to be on the world. Take care, everyone, and thank you so much, Candida, for your time. And if you'd like to get in contact with Candida, there'll be some links down below this, and if you're on YouTube, it'll be in the comments as well. And looking forward to I'm going to go and check out. I'm obviously part of your Facebook group already, so I'll go in and check out some of the videos that you've got going on in there.
All right, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Take care.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye.